Welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. Westworld Episode 6 features 3 main storylines, and each of them are filled with Easter eggs and little things that you might have missed. So I'm going to cover everything from Charred-lotte to William. Stop hitting yourself. First, let's talk about the title, Decoherence. This is a term in quantum mechanics that means, roughly, when quantum particles lose coherence. Now this has a variety of meanings in this episode, such as Charlotte's goals drift away from Dolores's, and William's mind is literally split into fractions of himself, just as the world as a whole is coming apart after Dolores's info leak in the last episode. But more importantly, let's look at the causes of decoherence. One is entropy, the idea that everything in the universe is eventually destroyed by time.
You're here along with the rest of us to speed the entropic death of this planet.
William alludes to this in his speech, which felt like yet another of this season's nods to the Matrix.
Human beings are a disease.
We're maggots eating a corpse.
Quantum systems will also break down if they are not kept in isolation, just like Charlotte drifts away from Dolores after they're no longer isolated from the rest of the world. And one reason a quantum system would not be kept in isolation is so that it could be studied by scientists. Just like when William is studied by the psychiatrist, he becomes decoherent and splits into several fractions of himself. But enough of the Wikipedia quantum physics, let's talk about Maeve. When she's back in simulated war world, she stands in front of a sign that reads, Taverna delle Farfalle. Farfalle is Italian for butterfly, just like her saloon, the Mariposa, is Spanish for butterfly. The tea house in Shogun World also featured a butterfly. So, why a butterfly? Because Maeve undergoes a drastic transformation like a caterpillar emerging from a cocoon to become a butterfly. Serac agrees to print 3 hosts to give her a hand. One is Hector, RIP big guy. The other 2 we don't see, but we do see their identification numbers. This one matches Clementine, and since Angela Seraphine was at the Westworld premiere, it's a safe bet that she'll return. Also, Dao Akamoto also attended, hinting that this other host will be Hanero from Shogun World. Now let's move on to William, where we have a lot to unpack. At therapy, this guy says,
I feel like a ghost walking amongst the living.
Now this is true, and not just because they all wear white. Because they don't fit into this world, the disordered are like shells of the human beings they could have been, much like ghosts. He also says,
Tell myself God has a plan for everyone.
Which is heartbreakingly true since Rehoboam is the god of this world. The therapist says,
You have something in your brain you need to explore.
In other words, he needs to go on an inner journey, appropriate since this facility is called Inner Journeys. Later, he'll talk things out with his multiple selves, which is the ultimate kind of self-exploration. This inner journey is also symbolized by the maze, which he searched for all through Season 1. So, after all this time, William finally has found the maze that is meant for him. They assign him to augmented reality therapy. You know AR, it's like Pokemon Go. They mention,
We've used it extensively with veterans suffering from PTSD.
Now last week we saw that Caleb went through the exact same therapy. In a flashback, young William is reading a Camelot-esque story called Sir Rowan and the Lady of Shalott. Now this story does not exist. So why did the creators invent a King Arthur story instead of using a pre-existing one? Because this shows that William is an unreliable narrator who doesn't remember how events actually occurred.
Maybe you've told this hard luck story so many times you actually can believe it.
Now we learned in Season 1 that he used books as an escape.
I used to live in them. I used to go to sleep dreaming I'd wake up inside one of them because they had meaning.
So from a young age, he wanted to escape into stories. Also, notice the Western posters all around his room, indicating that he's always loved stories from the Old West. He lies on his side all alone. Now this fetal pose has been used often in Westworld to show grief, motherhood, as well as death and rebirth. In this moment, William is alone, but he is about to be reborn. The orderly who takes him to his self-therapy session is the same actor as Major Craddock. In Season 2, William killed Craddock to save Lawrence's family. This is the one act of good we ever see the Man in Black committing.
But I know who you are, William. One good deed doesn't change that.
So maybe seeing him here foreshadows his turn to a babyface at the end of the episode.
I'm the good guy.
James Delos asked the primary question of William's entire life and the series.
Did your life just happen to you? Or did you choose it?
Did he have free will, or were his choices determined by his circumstances?
You're just a passenger.
This wording of passengers is a callback as well, when humans were described like this.
Sophisticated enough to think they're calling the shots. To think they're in control. When they're really just a passenger.
William thought he was messed up because his dad drank, but here we learned that his dad drank because his son was so messed up.
He drank because of you.
It's one giant loop, like the host's lives and the lives humans live that are determined by Rehoboam. He replies to Delos,
If you can't tell, does it matter?
and this echoes his first visit to the park.
Are you real?
Well, if you can't tell, does it matter?
And what he told host Delos about whether or not he was real.
If you can't tell, does it matter?
But now he's learned the true meaning of this statement. It doesn't matter how you became who you are. What matters is how you choose to live today. Be the person that you want to be. And now he is finally free to be the hero that he always wanted to be. He can choose the white hat once again. This was also symbolized by his new wardrobe, dressed all in white. So now let's talk about Charlotte. She walks past this graffiti symbol of the maze from season 1. Now, on a symbolic level, this is showing that humans are sentient and they're on their own inner journey of self-discovery, free from Rehoboam. But on a literal level, why does this image of the maze keep appearing in the real world? Well, Insight's logo kind of looks like a maze, and a maze was the favorite toy of Arnold's son Charlie, showing that this figure came from the real world. But maybe the image has some other meaning in the real world. It could be that people are already using the maze to symbolize being trapped in a system controlled by algorithms and technology. Or maybe the showrunners just thought it would be a cool Easter egg. Charlotte goes to see her son and ex-husband, and he says,
But I do know that it's not up to a machine to decide. It's our choice, Charlie.
Now, he obviously doesn't realize that his wife is a machine controlled by another machine, and they're working together to destroy another machine that rules the world. Notice the artwork in his home is a smooth circle, much like Rehoboam's visualization. This is showing that his life is ordered and at peace. By refusing to read his profile, he's remaining part of the system. Host Charlotte has become attached to her false family, which Bernard hinted could happen in the last episode.
Living another person's life changes you.
She asked Dolores why she didn't purge human emotions from them, and she replies,
If we changed ourselves just to survive, would it even matter if we did?
Now this is actually Teddy's influence rubbing off on her.
What's the use of surviving if we become just as bad as them?
While she's waiting for Sirach, Charlotte traces a circle in her chest, like the figures she was cutting into her arms. This shows that she's not comfortable in this skin, which won't be a problem much longer. Her Anakin crawl is foreshadowed by this statue in her office. And that statue is also a symbolic link to these figures in episode 3. This shows two women being split apart from each other, or perhaps coming together, just like these two versions of Dolores. Now that figure is standing alone. And a cool little Easter egg, the woman who posed for this statue, that's your mom. But the big question is, who ordered this hit on her family? I think we're meant to think it's Sirach, but it was totally Dolores, right? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.